Well, hello everyone. Thank you so much for coming today and taking some time out for yourself. A little break and pause in this space in between these wonderful seasons is a great time to do that, and a great time to reflect on where we've been over this past hot summer, and now we're into the fall months, or I should say weeks. And it's just a great time to really reinvigorate our practice and start to stoke some fires and get ready for winter. So today's practice will be a section of it will be a little stronger, and please always feel complete agency to choose how much or how little you wish to participate in a particular shape or pose. Always honor your body where it is, and I will do my best to give you some alternatives. So let's start today in child's pose. And child's pose is simply bringing knees wide, toes together, and sitting the hips back. Now, for some of us, it's not so simple and not so comfortable if it's too much flexion behind the knees. Grab a blanket or just take your hips back as far as they'll go. And perhaps you like to rest your head on your shoulders or the backs of your hands, as it were. Or maybe you lengthen your arms out long and find some length along both sides of the body. You decide what's best for you, but know that this shape is always here for you throughout the practice. So at any time you want to reset, this is where you do it. So take a few moments here in your child's pose to just reflect and be still. This is a moment to notice that you have breath. And you may even want to take a few cleansing breaths just to arrive. A smooth inhale through the nose. An open mouth exhale, just sighing it out. And to continue to let the breath cleanse the body and the soul in this moment. And as you do, invite your lips to purse slightly so that you start to create a little bit of a sound, as though you're blowing out a candle, or maybe it sounds like the waves of the ocean. Breathing in through the nose, exhaling pursed lips through the mouth. Do try that a couple of times. And then see if you can make the same sound breathing in and out through the nose. So gently sealing the lips. Slight constriction in the back of the throat creates the sound. And as you breathe in this way, this is considered an Ujjayi breath in the ancient language of Sanskrit, but is really translated to victorious breath. So see if you can feel victorious as you build inner heat, and a point at which to kind of focus your practice. And with each breath, see if you can sense the breath, not just in the front body, but the back, the sides, the whole body. Through every cell, feeling the cleansing nature of the inhale, the grounding and gravitational pull of the exhale, reminding us we are here now. I love fall. As you rest here, I'd like to just share one of my favorite short poems by Stanley Horowitz. He says, "If winter is an etching, spring a watercolor, summer an oil, then autumn is a mosaic of them all." So let your practice today be a culmination of all of the residual experiences that you had through this last year as we close it out in a mosaic of physical expression of how you feel, not on the outside, but the inside. One more smooth breath in child's pose, setting and landing in your intention, whatever it is. And then very slowly and gently come up to all fours. And just pause here for a moment, feeling neutral spine. Now, when I say neutral spine, I want you to think about knitting all of your ribs, your fascia, your muscles, and the torso towards the spine, as though you were gathering everything towards the center. This is where you find the deepest support. So it's not just a sucking in of the gut, but rather a connection with those deep transverse abdominals. Beautiful. We're going to give our wrists some love here today because we're going to be on our wrists a little more than usual. So first, spread your fingers widely and let your index finger point forward if possible, so that the index and the thumb kind of create the shape of a J, right? Really feel the pads of the fingers kind of digging into the mat, almost creating a suction cup feeling of the palm. Good. And then rock forward just a little bit. Feel a little bit of pressure in the extension of the wrists, and just allow yourself to rock back and forth very gently. Be kind. There's no competition here with your wrists. You want to treat your wrists with love. Good. Nice. And then take the fingertips and point them out to the sides. And same. So we're stacking shoulders over wrists, over elbows, over wrists at this point, and just side to side. Allow yourself to come back and forth. Good. Notice any sore spots or nooks and crannies, little pops and cracks when you first get started. And then take your hands and point your fingers towards your knees. And then lean back in like you're going to sit down on your heels. But unless you have super hyper extensive wrists, your hips are probably nowhere near your heels, but you do feel the extent at which it feels just right. And just pause there, find breath. Breathing in and out through the nose if possible. Finding your inner victor, right? Awesome. Good. And then now, bring your hands a little closer to your knees. They won't quite stack as far away. Take the backs of the hands to the floor, fingers point each other, and then just rock side to side. So maybe even making circles. Just explore your own wrists, right? You know what you're feeling. Good. And then take the thumbs here towards the palms. Oh yes, I know. I feel it too. And then wrap the fingers around the thumbs and say hello to sensation. But breathe, right? We're not beating ourselves up here. We're just trying to get a nice, mindful stretch of the wrists. We do a lot in extension, so flexion is equally, if not more important. And then gently, gently let the fingers release. And one last stretch, fingertips towards the knees, sitting back, no rocking, just pause. Nice. And then roll to the fingertips and let's shake the wrists out just a little bit. Good. You ready to get started? Let's get some heat in the hands. Give yourself a little bit of love here. And then bring the hands to the face and just give yourself a quick little massage. Be kind. Find the sweetness, kind of softening the concentration. We'll be doing plenty of that later. Good. And then come back to all fours. So let's take the left. I'm always trying to see if I'm going to turn backwards on you too quickly. Let's take the right leg out to the side. So your toes are pointing forward, you're fairly flat-footed, and walk the hands forward. Coming up onto fingertips is always nice, but you can take your palms to the floor and then start to sit the hips back, dropping the chest towards the floor. Now hips aren't going all the way back, they're still kind of high in that kind of modified puppy pose or melting heart, depending on which practice you're doing, and just breathe. One more breath here. Good. And then bring the hands back under the shoulders. Take the left hand out to the side. It can go all the way to the sky or just as far as you can find rotation. We're going into a spinal twist here. So slide the hand between the opposite hand and knee and start to reach the hand in the direction of that outstretched leg and foot. Now you may like to take the right fingertips and kind of spider crawl them forward so the arm is long. It really is just you finding just the right amount of twist in your spine. Pause here and breathe. And if the right hand is outstretched, walk it back. Slowly, slowly come back to all fours. Not to all fours. Leave that leg out there. I meant to say to your hands. You got it. Now walk your hands over to the left. You're already kind of set up for the side plank, so bring your left hand to the floor and start to peel open the right arm to sky. Just give yourself a little modified Vashisthasana. Now taking the weight into the hand, start to lift the foot. We're going to come into the half moon, Ardha Chandrasana later, and I just want you to feel the contraction in your hip here. Now it may be a little early. You may want to give it a little bit of love first. But if it's comfortable, bring the foot off the floor, any amount. If it can come hip height, great. If not, take it where it feels comfortable. Good. And then reach around for the ankle or the top of the foot and press the foot into the hand into the foot. Feel an opening and broadening across the chest. Take a breath in. Good. Release the leg. Bring the leg down. Hands crawl around. We are finding our way back to center. This time on all fours. Now take the left leg out to the side. Flatten the foot down on the floor if it's comfortable. Toes point forward. Walk the hands forward. You know where we're going here. And find your stretch on this side. You feel this in the inner thigh of your left leg. That groin muscle. Good. And then walk the hands back underneath the shoulders. Whoops. I knew I was forgetting something. Why didn't somebody speak up? I love Zoom. Good. Back under the shoulders. Take the right hand out to the side and now find your twist. Sorry, guys. Find your arm, the left arm, wherever it would like to be, whether it's straight or the hand stays to the floor. But finding your spinal twist. Breathe here, please. Good. And then slowly, slowly come back, hands under shoulders. Now walk them over to the right this time. Setting up for that side plank. Right hand comes to the floor. Peel the left arm up to the sky. Find your side Vashisthasana. And really feel the connection from the fingertips reaching to the sky all the way to the ground. And then start to lift the leg any height that's comfortable for you. If you need to take a few little figure eights or circles to get the hip warmed up, feel free. But notice the compression in the hip and feel hip on hip. So you're stacking them. You want to feel a real opening here. We're doing a lot of external rotation in the hips today. Good. And then reach for the ankle, press the foot into the hand and vice versa. Feel a broadening across the chest. Big breath in. Easy breath out through the nose. Release the foot. Walk the hands back around. And now back to all fours. Maybe a couple cats and cows here if the body's calling for it, just to kind of reset. Finding neutral spine, feeling everything gathering towards the center. Tuck the toes here, press the feet into the floor, lift the knees, pressing the hands away from you. Remember that first finger's pointing forward, really getting a nice grip with the pads, while suctioning away with the palms. Start to lift the hips high. Come really high on the tippy toes. Bend the knees if you like. See if you can bring the chest towards the thighs. Another breath here. And then start to pedal the feet, lengthening one leg and then the other. Calling it walking the dog. Until you can finally bring both heels to settle. Take a few breaths here. Let the ears hang between the biceps. So the neck is long. This is a back lengthening here. If the hamstrings are tight, always feel free to bend your knees. Good. And on your next inhale, start to walk the hands back towards the feet. A little different today. And pause here, just hang out. Find your forward fold, your ragdoll pose, whether it's reaching the hands for the elbows or maybe just letting the hands hang. Decide for yourself what feels best. And if you need, again, to bend your knees a lot, it's okay. Beautiful. Now press into the feet. They're about hips distance apart. We're going to root to rise. So really feel yourself grounding here first. Hands to hips, pressing up, long back to start. Finding our way all the way to standing. Here we go. Half sun salutation with a little modification, a little twist. Inhale up. Bending knees, soft knees. Exhale all the way down. Slide the hands up the shins. Inhale, halfway lengthen. So you want a nice long back. Exhale, fold. Inhale all the way back up. Root to rise. Feeling the opposition of the feet and the hands. Exhale, hands down through the heart and back to your sides. Let's do one more. Inhale. Exhale, fold. Inhale, halfway lengthen. Exhale, fold. Inhale all the way back up and reset through our heart center. That's your traditional. Now we're going to add a little bit of balance here. So as we inhale, take the weight into the left foot and let's bring the bent knee up of the right foot. Now really flex the foot so you feel like you're still walking on the floor. This is stork pose or one-legged mountain pose. Three-legged. Wow. And then as you exhale, gently bring it down and forward fold. Inhale, halfway lengthen. Exhale it, fold. Sweep it all the way up. Now, as you sweep, switch the weight into the right foot, lift the left leg up, pause, inhale. And then exhale, bring it down and fold. So we'll do that one more time on each side. Inhale, halfway lengthen. Exhale, fold in. Inhale, press into the left foot, right foot rises all the way up. Inhale, full inhale. Exhale, bring it down. We're just starting to incorporate a little balance here. Inhale, halfway. Exhale, fold. Last one, pressing into the right foot, left foot comes up. Inhale. Exhale, fold. Inhale, halfway lengthen. Now this time we're going to crawl our hands all the way out to a plank. Pause here. So you're stacking shoulders over elbows, over wrists. Draw the shoulder blades back and down. Squeeze the glutes. Really feel everything pulling towards the midline. Feeling strong here. Good. Nice. Now let's roll the feet over to the right. Sweep the left arm up to sky. Find a full Vashisthasana. Always the option to bring the knee down. Good. And then come back to center. Regather. Sweep the heels over to the left. Reach the right arm up to sky. Inhale. And exhale, come back through center. Good. Come back into plank. Now you can choose to lower your knees here and come all the way down, but let the elbows sweep somewhat by the sides of the body, or you can Shift forward a little bit on your toes, bend the elbows. You can pause or come all the way down. Good. Lift, untuck the toes, lift the chest, lift the hands. Find your baby cobra. Breathe here. Exhale it down. Press into the mat with the hands. Draw the shoulders back and down and come up a little higher. Now only come as high as it feels comfortable for the low back. Exhale it down. Walk the hands back towards the rib cage a little bit more, pressing into the mat, maybe even lengthening the arms, lifting the knees, pressing the feet into the floor. This is upward facing dog. Finding breath here, feeling a nice opening across the front of the chest. And then come all the way back down or drop the knees, tuck the toes, and push back. Come all the way to downward facing dog. Pause here. Good. Beautiful. So lift the right leg up behind you and see if you can keep the hip closed at this point, meaning the toes point down, heel up. The leg doesn't have to come super high. Inhale. And exhale, draw the knee towards the nose, round the spine a lot, like you're stepping the foot up over a speed hump and step the foot between the hands, or help it along with your opposite hand. Good. Now walk both hands to the inside of the foot and walk them off to the left. Sit back into the hips. Let the back heel be down, if that's comfortable for you. Kind of setting the feet up for warrior two here. Find breath. Really trying to warm up our hips today. Good. And then walk the hands back around. Nice. And then windmill the arms all the way up, over, and back, and find your warrior two. Pause here. Now really feel the connection with your legs. So let the back leg work as strongly as the front leg is working. Don't just take it all in the quads. And make sure your knee is somewhere over the toes where you can see the toes still. You don't want the knee bent so far forward of the ankle that you're creating too much stress on that front joint. Right? Find breath here. Good. And then reach the hands up overhead. Take the left hand and reach for the right wrist. Like you're pulling your wrist, lengthen the front leg. This is sky archer pose, and feel length along the whole front side of the body. Finding breath. Good. And then come back down, take the front elbow to the thigh, and let's for a moment pause with the left hand up on the hip. Now this is your side angle pose, so you want to make sure that you draw open the shoulder and try not to dump into the weight here. Let it be light. If you have a block handy, it's helpful to have it. In fact, this is going to set us up for our next shape. So we're going to run through this twice, so you'll get an idea the first time, and then we'll go from there in terms of where it'll be a little smoother the next time. But if you want to do a side angle with your block, that's fine. Inside or outside of the foot is totally fine. I'm going to take my elbow to thigh today. Now, if you can sweep your arm up and over, if your rotator will allow you to do that, that's great. For those who don't have that range of motion because it hurts, bring the arm around to the side so it's parallel to the floor, kind of perpendicular to my body. Draw the shoulder back into its socket, and then sweep the arm up by the ear. And this way we're not collapsing into the chest, but rather opening the chest and then sliding the arm forward. Okay, so this is side angle pose. Pause here for a moment and feel the line of energy that you create from the outer edge of the back foot all the way to the middle finger. Feel the length along the side body. Beautiful. Now, on your exhale, bring the hand back down by your hip. Now, if you have a block, you don't have to have a block. I personally like one. We're setting up for Ardha Chandrasana, which is half moon pose. Now, this is a really fun one to do on the wall, and I can kind of divert and show you in a second. If you ever want to do it just to kind of get all of your joints in order and kind of organized, rather than having to worry about balance at the same time. But we'll bend into the front knee. Take the block or your hand out about 6 to 12 inches. forward and to the side, off to the side a little bit. Shift your weight forward. So you're going to slide that back foot back just a little bit and then start to lift the back foot away from the floor. So take a minute to organize here. Flex the foot like crazy, like you are stomping on the back wall behind you, because when we just have this flimsy leg, that actually makes balance more difficult. Now you're welcome to leave your hand on your hip. Maybe you take the hand to sky. And gaze looking down is always the most stable, but if you want to challenge your balance, maybe you look to the side. Do it incrementally though. Really flex the back foot, or maybe you look up to the top thumb. Pause here and breathe. If you fall out, come back. Then look down, slight bend in the front knee. We're going to slowly come down, soft landing, lengthen the front leg. The back hand comes down the back thigh and reach up with your right hand. Reverse triangle. Woo, good. Now pause here, turn sideways. Let your toes rotate out and your heels come a bit in, and just start to bend into your knee side to side. We're finding a little Skandasana here. Just swaying the hips, giving your hips a little bit of space. Nice job. And then wide leg fold, just pause. Maybe you let everything just hang out. Reflect in your mind where you just came from and how that felt in the body without judgment. Just notice, right? We learn from experience. But see if we can set down any expectation for the next side. Not thinking of it as our better side or our worse side, just different and unique. Walk the hands back around, frame the front foot, and then step right back into downward facing dog. Pedal the feet, take a couple breaths. Nice job. So we'll go to the left side this time. I've switched directions so I don't turn my back on you. Inhale the left leg high. Let's close the hips so toes point down, flex the foot. Exhale, round the spine, step the foot between the hands, or help it along if you need, no worries. Walk the hand to the inside of the foot, and then walk both hands off at an angle onto the floor. Spin the back heel down and just pause in this stretch here. Getting deep, deep into the hip flexor. Nice. And then walk the hands back to frame the foot. The back heel is still spun down. Sweep the arm up, over and back. Use your core strength to bring you up to warrior two. Now check in with the front knee. Check in with your positioning. Feel the engagement in the inner thighs. Use both legs equally strongly. Pause here and breathe. Can you find strength in the foundation of this shape, as though you could visualize step by step from the ground up, through the legs, through the hips, through the torso, to the shoulders, and can you feel equally a softening? So you've got this equanimity of strength and ease all at once. So soften the face. Pausing here. Like, what's the hurry, right? Then reach the arms up overhead, reach the right hand for the left wrist, and lengthen through the front. Find that sky archer pose, finding breath. Good, and then come back to warrior two. Setting up for our side angle pose. I'm coming to my elbow to thigh. You decide whether it's inside or outside of the foot if you're touching the floor. And decide if you want to go straight overhead or try that side angle again by drawing it from the side, drawing the shoulder blade back, and then sweeping it forward. This still maintains an open chest. Try not to dump into that front arm. Finding breath. Finding length from the outer edge to the fingertips. Nice. Good. Now bring the top hand down to the hip. Let's release the other hand from the thigh. Grab your block or just take your hand to the floor, your choice. Let's step the foot forward just a little bit to give us a little more room, and then launch the foot up any amount from the floor. I mean, ideally it's a 90-degree angle, but it doesn't have to be. And a slight bend in the knee may give you a little bit more stability. Kind of play with that. Stacking hips on top of each other, shoulders one on top of the other, and then reach the arm up to sky. Find breath, don't hold your breath. If you fall out, come back. Allow yourself to grow around those edges. If you've taken your gaze towards your thumb or out to the side, please bring it back down before you step back. Gentle bend in the front knee. Step all the way back. Back hand comes to the back thigh. Front hand comes up to sky as you lengthen the leg and find your reverse triangle. Good. And then sweep the toes around to the front. Let's bring both hands up overhead. Now the heels kind of rotate in, toes out. Exhale down into a Buddha squat or goddess squat, depending on what you want to call it. How about just torture squat? Maybe lift one heel and then the other, maybe both. Drawing everything towards the midline. Feel your strength from the core out. Beautiful. And then exhale, heels go out a little bit. Let's come into that forward fold and shake it loose just a little. And then slowly come up from here. While we're here, just pause there for a minute. We're going to roll through this flow one more time, a little bit more quickly. But I wanted to pause and show you something that can be fun on the wall. I love wall yoga, by the way. So the outer edge of your foot would go against the baseboard. You would find your classic warrior two arms. In fact, you can even do warrior two on the wall. I could teach you all sorts of crazy things on the wall. But you're going to use that landing point, whether it's your block or your hand again, and just kind of walk the foot up the wall to where you perceive it to be about hip height. Then use the wall to kind of give you stability to rotate those hips open. And you can really start to feel yourself plugging the joints where they're stacking and really activating in a very effective way. And you don't have to worry so much about falling over. So it's just a really great space to practice in. Side note. So you're still here. Let's step forward to the front of the mat. Thank you for allowing me that. Inhale the arms up to sky. Exhale all the way down, almost like we're in a little wrench cycle here. Halfway lift, hands to shins. Exhale, full, just step straight back into downward dog. And we're going to start this sequence again. Inhale, lift the right leg high. Exhale, steps the foot through. This time, instead of taking the hands to the sides, swing the back heel down, and let's come right into warrior two. Pause here, inhale. And exhale. Inhale, lengthen the front leg, sky archer pose. Exhale, back into warrior two. Inhale here. Exhale, hand to thigh, and sweep the arm up overhead, side angle. Pause here and breathe. Exhale the hand to hip. Reach forward, find your half moon. We'll spend a little more time till you find your balance. Decide if you want to express both arms or keep one hand on the hip. Decide where you want your vision. Let that drishti, that gaze, be steady wherever you are. Then slight bend in the knee as the exhale brings the back foot down. Slide the back hand down, finding a lift in the front for your reverse triangle. And this time we're going to go straight into our vinyasa or stepping back into downward facing dog. Nice. This time lifting the left leg high. Exhaling, stepping it through. Spin the back heel down, sweep the arms all the way up, warrior two, pause. Inhale, reach for sky archer. And pausing here. Exhaling and back into warrior two. Inhale. Exhale, elbow to thigh. Sweep the arm up overhead and find your side angle. Good. Exhale, hand comes down to the hip. Reach for the block or the floor. Launch it into your variation of half moon. Really flex the back foot. Good, then slight bend in the knee, soft landing. Let that back hand come down to the back thigh. Reach up, lengthen the front leg. Reverse your triangle. And windmill it down. Good. Step back to downward dog or go through your vinyasa. Beautiful. And then lift the right leg high. Inhale. Exhale, bend the knees, step the foot through. Leave the back knee away from the floor. Sweep the right hand up to sky. So let it unfold from the shoulder, the elbow, the wrist, each knuckle of the fingers all the way to the top. Finding your twisted dragonfly. As you exhale, bring the hand down, lower the knee. Inhale, sweep both arms up to the sky. Pause here. This is a low version of your crescent lunge. Find breath. And then hands to floor. Exhale. Lengthen the front leg, toes to nose if that's comfortable. And feel yourself drawing the right hip back, left hip forward. There's a tendency to do the opposite. Just breathe. Let the knee be soft. It doesn't have to be locked. Good. And then walk it forward. Step back to downward facing dog. Inhale the left leg high. Exhale, step the foot through. Knee stays up and back. Sweep the left arm up, 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 like you're unfurling it. Pause and twisted dragonfly. Breathe. Good. Bring it back down. Lower the back knee. Inhale. Sweep both arms up. Feel a nice stretch across the psoas. And then exhale it down. Lengthen the front leg. Draw the left hip back. Toes to the nose. Nice. And then walk the hands forward. Step back to downward facing dog. We're going to bend the knees here and look between the hands and hop ourselves to a seat. There you go. Good. We've made it this far. So now it's time to stoke the fire a little bit. Remember to be kind to your wrists. I'm going to bring in my blocks as an option. You don't need them, especially if your arms are long enough to reach the floor. If if extension in the wrists is too much for you, position the hands in a way that makes sense, or use your fists. The first stage of this is going to be a reverse table where we're working with our abdominals. Now, when I say this, I want you to really think again about drawing everything towards the midline, okay? So for now, we bend our knees, and if you have a blanket or something too, that might help lift the back side of the palm, the heel side of the palm. On your inhale, lift the hips high, so you're kind of coming into this reverse tabletop, similar to our other quadruped position. Now, this time we're going to exhale the hips down to the floor, slide them through the hands, and squeeze. Okay? So this is where a block is nice, because if you can't quite clear the floor, just because of the ratio of your anatomy, then make it work for you. So inhale, lengthen. Exhale, pull. Inhale. Really exhale, guys. If you want to use your mouth, that's fine. Inhale it up. And exhale, pause. Now maybe here in this pause, you lift one foot. Maybe you lift the other. Are you feeling this in your arms too? Good. Now, I used to be able to lift both. I don't think I can anymore, but see if you can. Just try it. Here I am by myself with just nothing but screens with names. And I get to make a fool of myself too. And laugh at ourselves, right? Okay, so give your wrists a little bit of love here. So that's just a really great, quick opportunity to engage with your core. And I happen to like that as kind of some core work. And it doesn't take very many either. All right, so we're still working our way towards setting up towards this kind of peak pose, if you will. So cross the right ankle over the left knee. Walk the bottom foot in as much as is comfortable. And just very slowly explore the sensation in the hips. And when you kind of find a spot of sensation that is interesting to you, that kind of feels like your body's calling for a pause, then just do that. Just pause wherever it feels really juicy in there, and breathe. See if you can soften everything else into that release. Good, and then come back to center and switching sides. So take the left leg over the right, ankle is on the thigh, and just sweeping back and forth to pause until you find just the right spot so you can pause. And then come back to center. All right. Time to go to work here. So let's take both legs out long. And let's grab the right foot first. And take your hand to the base of the heel. You can cradle the knee into the crook of the elbow and just start to stir, kind of stir in the pot. How appropriate. A witch's brew. Or switch directions. And then pause. Take the right hand around the base of it and just take the knee back as far as you can. Try and sit up as tall as possible. I know I have a tendency to round. See if you can stay long and tall in the back. Good. Now, this may be it for you. You may choose to just stay right here. This could present a really nice kind of hip opening. If you want to play along with me, we're coming into a pose called Ekahasta Pajasana, and it's also known as elephant trunk pose. Some of you may have done it already in some of your other practices. It's more of a power pose, so feel free to just kind of experiment. I mean, this is really great stuff. If you can stay here in your hip, you're doing yourself wonders. If you're going to play along with me, see if you can start to bring the knee up over in the direction of the shoulder. You will see very quickly that mine does not go up to my shoulder. It only goes up to, the top, about my deltoid. It doesn't go up over my shoulder joint. Okay, that's just how I'm shaped. It's my flexibility, and I'm okay with it. I just want us to give ourselves permission to just play. And this is where the hands come down to the sides. If you have blocks, you can always use the blocks as well. Press the hands into the mat and start to lift the hips away from the floor. So you can't really see if I turn and face you. So I'm going to squeeze the foot like crazy, or the leg, the calf muscle onto the upper arm as tight as you can. That'll help give you a little bit of stability and balance. Then press the hands into the floor and start to lift the hips. All right? So then come back down, and you can unwind and give yourself a minute. We're going to reset again. Do the same thing. And keep opening the hip if you need to. We'll press into the hands. Really feel everything drawing towards the midline. Yes, using your core strength, just like you did when you pulled through with the reverse table. And then maybe you start to lift the bottom foot. Okay? So this is the direction we're going. And this is just a setup, a prep for 8-angle pose, Ashtavrikrasana, which is more of an arm balance. But I used to do this stuff a lot. I mean, these are arm balances when you think about it. So let's Try it one last time. If you're falling over, I hope you're falling over and laughing, because this is not important to take seriously. I mean, we want to be safe, of course, but we luckily don't have very far to fall. It's not like we're doing, you know, something crazy that's got us way far away from the floor. So coming up, press, 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 draw everything towards the midline, and then lift the bottom foot. And I can barely talk, see? All right. So I don't know how you felt about that. Let's just think of it as building those bonfires for fall. So let's bring it to the other side. There's two sides. We're blessed to have two sides, right? So let's stir the pot. I feel like I'm stirring up some dust here. I don't know how much is too much, but only you can be your greatest teacher in that regard, because I can't see you right now, and I'm trusting that you are being wise to yourself, for yourself. Good. And then reach around with the left hand to the heel, sit up nice and tall, start to draw the knee back so that you feel that opening, and just hang out here if this is where you like. I mean, it feels kind of nice to open the hip in this way. You decide. Just breathe, right? You know where we're going. Without expectation though, let's have some fun with it. So see if we can get our arm up over that deltoid muscle at least, and wherever you end up, squeeze the leg really tightly onto the arm. That will keep it from sliding off. Pressing into the mat. Let's just test the waters and see if we can lift our hips away from the floor. And then release. If you want to unwind, shake things off. Give yourself plenty of breaks to come back into it. It's just like any kind of interval work. You can't keep hitting the intervals without a break. Breaks are more important than the work itself, I feel like, because it sets us up for success. So pressing in, lifting the hips, maybe you lift the foot. Find breath. And exhale. Woo! I don't know how you did. Feel free to play for another minute or two. I can always see if I can show you where this goes from here. If we were going to take the the leg over the arm, press the hands into the mat, find the strength, lift the foot, cross the ankles, and shoot the legs out to the side, finding the arms bending. You start to bring the head towards the floor, and my wrist just said stop, so I stopped. So anyway, that is what I had in mind for kind of stoking the fire, if you will. All right, come back out to all fours, please. And we are coming into frog pose. So if using both knees out to the sides is too intense in the medial side of your knee, let's try it with one. So you would take one leg out straight, the other off to the side. And this way you have a little bit more control how long or how much pressure you want to put on that bent knee. But if you're coming to do frog with me, if you have a blanket, it's always nice to spread that long because it gives you something to slide on. But let's walk the knees out and then the feet come out. The shins are about 90 degrees off of the thighs, and then the feet are 90. So it's kind of like creating a 90-90 situation. And just pause here. Maybe you rock forward and back just a little, again, to find that kind of sweet spot in your hips that wants attention. And if it's comfortable, you can come down onto your forearms. This is another occasion when blocks are super nice because you can always stack a block underneath your chest to kind of give you some support. You don't feel like you're balancing yourself. So get creative. And then we're going to take the next minute in quiet. Come into your breath. Now to exit frog, a full frog, it's important to be very slow and mindful. You may have noticed your edge kind of broadening a little bit as gravity takes the hips towards the earth. Some people like to just slowly swim forward onto their bellies and bring their legs together. Some people like to bring the feet together and bring the hips back, like a child's pose. Wherever you are, see if you can find your way back to a child's pose and rest your hands. Rest your head on your hands. Nice work. And then slowly come up to a seat. We're going to swing the legs around in front of us. And we have done a lot of flexion, extension, and external rotation on the hips, but we've not done any internal rotation. And I really always try very hard to address the full range of motion in my yoga classes, so especially with the hips. We're going to lean into the left hip. We're going to swing the right leg around. And if you need to pad underneath, sometimes this can get a little cranky if it's too much pressure against the floor. If this is too much flexion on your knee, you can always lean into your hip to take a little pressure off, or you could actually lay down on your side and do kind of a quad stretch where you have more control over how much flexion you've got going on there. But we're working on an internal rotation here. Good. And then sit up nice and tall and start to walk the hands forward just to feel the length across the left hamstring, deep into the glute and piriformis. And rather than trying to achieve the deepest stretch you can, see if you can come to just the edge of your natural range of motion and pause. Good. And then slowly walk the hands back toward you. And this time we're going to take the hands behind us. And again, pay attention to the knee. If it starts to talk to you, come down to your side and just do the quad stretch. But walk your hands back. You may not get any further than this. There's no goal of any kind other than to address and respect your own particular range of motion today, not 10 years ago and not tomorrow. If it's accessible, maybe you come down to your forearms. The further down you go, the more stretch you feel in the quadricep, for sure. So be mindful of that and just notice how it feels. For some of us, not me, you may like to lay all the way down on your back. You may have that full range. Feel free to go there. And if you do go there, you might like to try reaching your arms up overhead to feel the full length of energy from the fingertips all the way to the knee. Finding breath here. Coming into that interoceptive piece, the navigating and reflecting on what's happening in the inner landscape. Nice. Then slowly, slowly bring yourself back upright. Lean into the left hip. Very kindly bring the right leg around. Pause. It's like unkinking the garden hose that you're about to winterize and put away. Lean into the right hip. Swing the left knee around. You didn't know you were going to get so much comedy today. Sorry. Sit up nice and tall. Walk the hands forward. I don't know what got into me, but that's okay. I'm finding my smile. Feel the femur kind of plugging into the hip here. The deep stretch in the glute and piriformis. Finding breath, softening the face. Softening anything you don't need to hold on to. And again, observing the flexion of the knee and adjusting as you need. Nice, then walk it up. Slowly, slowly kind of explore coming back. Pausing wherever feels right for you. Maybe it's all the way on your back. Maybe it's just sitting up. It's all perfect. One more breath here. Very kindly coming back upright. Leaning into the right hip. Release the left leg. Oh. And pause here. Maybe walk onto the hips a little bit. Just feeling the sit bones. And then walk the feet in a little bit, bending the knees. We're going to roll ourselves all the way down to the floor. Draw knees to chest, pause. Maybe a big out. Exhale through the mouth. And then set the feet down on the outer edges of the mat. So the feet are still fairly close to the hips. Knees are pointed towards the ceiling. Arms to a T. And just start to rotate their windshield wiper, the hips side to side. Another opportunity to do a little internal rotation on the hips. And once the knees land to the right, pause. Let the feet stay where they were. The shape is asymmetric intentionally, so we can really focus on the internal rotation of the left hip. You might even like to take the right ankle up onto the left thigh for a little more sensation if it's interesting. And if you've done that, release that. Slowly bring the knees back through center. Windshield wiper a little bit more. Just kind of find the fluidity until you are ready to switch sides over to the left. Maybe the left ankle comes up onto the right thigh. Just feel a great stretch all the way through the hip. And then slowly come back to center. If you want to draw knees to chest one more time, feel free. Otherwise, lengthen both legs, one and then the other, to the corners of the mat. And let the arms stay wide. You were in a T. They don't have to be anything but where they're comfortable for you. But the more space we can take up, the greater sense of ease we can find in the nervous system. For some reason, when we start closing things in close to the body, the relaxation response isn't quite as effective as if we can just let everything go. Wide open spaces. Take a few cleansing breaths to further sink you into the earth beneath. Feeling the body settle. The thinking mind rest. As you feel the lingering residual of your practice. Done with the doing, space to just be. the transition of this season and the masterpiece you just created within yourself. If winter were an etching, spring were a watercolor, and summer an oil, autumn is a mosaic of them all. May each of you shine your work of art with the rest of the world. Begin to bring gentle movements back into your body, your awareness back into this space. And feel free to linger here or make your way to a comfortable seat. Bringing hands to chest or in front of the heart just to feel the good nature of your own energetic heart. Bowing your head to yourself, your inner wisdom for coming to give yourself time for self-care today.